What's going on? Welcome back to Dealing with the Devils. It's Jack and JD once again, and the Blue Devils just beat Pittsburgh 87-52 on the road, bringing them to 14-2 on the season in their 16th game. JD, what'd you like the most from the Blue Devils tonight?
Love their enthusiasm tonight. They wanted to show that they could play defense. That's clearly the knock against this Duke team. And so holding the Panthers to 52 points, even though the Panthers' leading scorer wasn't playing, or best player was not in the lineup, still 52 points is a little show of life that there is D on this Bluke Devils team.
Bluke Devils team. Interesting combination there, JD. But yeah, you look at the Blue Devils, they gave up 24 points in the first half, and I think it was clear to me there was definitely a different level of intensity in the first half than the second. They relented a little bit in the second half. But I felt the bench came in early. Coach K made that adjustment, especially knowing he didn't have Bolden and Delorier, but also knowing that this Pittsburgh team wasn't as strong as some of the other teams they played previously. And, he utilized that opportunity and he got great minutes from a number of bench players tonight. And usually we start with the starters here, JD, but I figure, the only guy who didn't score off the bench was Jack White, your boy there, and I thought he played phenomenal tonight.
Jack was great. He was all over the ball hustling. He grabbed a couple of rebounds. His presence was felt. You even heard his name called by the announcers.
Right. And, no points, but he had 2 steals, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. He even blocked a shot. And to me, the quintessential Jack White play was, not everything he did showed up on the box score, but he had a couple of offensive rebounds. And in particular, he had one where he got the offensive rebound, found Grayson Allen when he relocated to the corner, and then set a screen on Grayson's man as he handed it off to him. It was just an excellent play by Jack White in the first half. But also, we can't go any further without mentioning the Admiral's son, Justin Robinson, with 3 3-pointers on the night. Who would have thought Justin Robinson and Trayvon Duval would have combined for 6 3-pointers tonight, JD?
Well, actually, it's the first time that I can recall that their 3-point shooting was in sync. Great old band, but 41.4% as a team from 3-point range. They had it clicking.
They did, and O'Connell as well added 2 threes of his own off the bench. But the star of every game for the Blue Devils, it seems, is Marvin Bagley, and it wasn't any different tonight. 16 points and 15 rebounds, but he was just dominant again. Pittsburgh really had no answers for him and his ability to just get to the basket at will. But tonight he did definitely struggle with his shot. 2 of 8 from the line. It wasn't the most efficient game for Bagley, but he was still very dominant when he was out there, JD.
Yeah, overall, one of the interesting stats for me, but it may just be that Duke scored as many points as they did, but on rebounds it was 47-37 as a team, and I thought that was kind of interesting because if there was one area, there were lots of turnovers. It was 15-6, Duke defense very strong, but on the rebounds, it almost as if there was something about not, blocking out your man. And I often found that the Pitt players were able to get inside. A better effort would have seen a closer game.
Yeah, well, they tend to do that to teams. They're just so big. And Pittsburgh didn't really have the size to match up with Bagley and Carter. But I waited long enough. I wanted to wait until we talked about enough of the positives here to talk about Grayson Allen, because I feel like nobody's been giving this enough airtime. The amount of struggles that he's had, he had the huge game early on against Michigan State, and everyone was ready to crown him National Player of the Year. And since then, it's been up and down, but more so down, and especially so since we got into conference play. where when you look at the last 5 games or so, and in particular the 2 losses, he hasn't shot the ball well at all. He was 5 of 20 against Boston College, and then against NC State, he was 3 of 9. Now, 3 of 9 may not sound awful, but he should shoot more than 9 times. And again tonight, he finished 4 of 12, but 2 of 9 from 3. For Grayson Allen to be struggling like this from 3-point range is a major red flag for me. And while he was more aggressive tonight, and eventually his shot should start falling, it's gonna turn into kind of a question of when at this point.
Well, the Grayson question to me is, how does he and Trey Duval combine themselves together into a solid backcourt? Because you saw Trey putting up the tray, and you saw Grayson occasionally being really aggressive and finishing, but then there are these gaps where is he on the court? Where is he? He's not in the flow, and you got to wonder which Grayson Allen is showing up every night. And for them to really be effective, you got to go back to the Michigan State game, where the guy is just completely confident against what conceivably is the best team in the nation. He tattoos them for 37 points, and yet you're absolutely right. In ACC play, and even before that, it's sort of like, I don't know where, do I want to play? Do I want to go after the ball? And I think, as Coach K said, he's got to want it. He has got to want to take the ball to the basket and to be more involved. And it's just, like at times he's just sort of watching it.
Yeah, exactly. And, I thought you hit on a key point there when you mentioned the confidence factor, because I think with Grayson, that's really what it boils down to. And look, if you look at the numbers from the outside, he's shooting almost 43% from 3, 47% from the field. Like, those are great numbers, but it's just the inconsistency that he's had, especially as a senior, where you'd hope he'd be the rock for this team, and he hasn't been able to do that with any sort of consistency. And it's been part of the reason why they've struggled in conference play.
No question about it. And he, as the senior, has got to step up. But I think something has to give in that relationship with Trey Duval. Who's the point guard? Who's distributing? Because the best that Grayson looks is when he's driving to the basket under control and either laying it up or having pulled people to him thinking he's going to put up the shot. There's an open player. Is that the point guard's role? Is that Trey's role? And if he's doing it, what is the balance between the two of them?
Right. And as you said, he's most comfortable when he's going to the basket, and that tends to get his 3-point shot going. When he gets a couple layups to go down, then he starts to feel very confident with his jumper. But when that doesn't happen, then he tends to kind of force shots. And with Grayson, I think he needs to do a better job at kind of feeling his way around the 3-point line and making more timely cuts around Bagley and Carter. And I think also if more of the offense was run through those guys. And tonight, obviously the defense was fantastic, and they got a lot of leak out, so it's tough to say. But in games where it's going to be more competitive, and we're going to have one next week against Miami, but they're going to have to be more precise on the offensive end of the court.
So there's one other thing about Grayson. I'm going to go all the way back for the Knick fans that listen to us to the way Bill Bradley used to play. Now, admittedly, they're very different players. Bill Bradley was not a slasher that could go to the basket. Bill Bradley's beauty was getting himself open for a shot. And Bill Bradley was famous for running his figure eights. He would run through the middle, come out on the side, come up, go down through the middle, come out on the side. Constantly getting himself open, constantly in motion. And this is the thing that I don't understand about where Grayson is right now, because at times you just see him standing there.
Yeah, great point, JD. I think you hit the nail on the head again. More off-ball movement would definitely help the offense as a whole, but definitely Grayson Allen. But All right, that's it for us. The Blue Devils will be taking on Wake Forest at home on Saturday. That game will be at noon. So we will see you guys after the conclusion of that game. Until then, that was Dealing with the Devils.